Welcome to the UGC NET MCQ Series. Question: who among the following thinkers is not associated with feminist theory? Number 1. Susan Sontag. Number 2. Carol Pateman. Number 3. Martha Nussbaum. Number 4. Judith Butler. You have 5 seconds to guess the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is option 1, Susan Sontag. Explanation: Susan Sontag is not primarily associated with feminist theory. She was a renowned essayist, cultural critic, and writer, but her work did not specifically focus on feminist perspectives. Sontag's legacy lies more in her exploration of aesthetics, art, and cultural criticism. In contrast, Carol Pateman, Martha Nussbaum, and Judith Butler have made significant contributions to feminist thought, addressing issues related to gender, power, and equality. Question: what is the main argument of philosophical anarchism? 1. That no state should exist. 2. That no state in fact has authority. 3. That arguments for philosophical anarchism are opposed to liberal principles. 4. That all states should exist in mutual cooperation and harmony. You have 5 seconds to guess the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is option 2, that no state in fact has authority. Explanation: philosophical anarchism is a branch of political philosophy that is highly skeptical and sometimes even eliminative of the state. It does not necessarily imply any action or desire for the elimination of authority, but philosophical anarchists do not believe that they have an obligation or duty to obey any authority, or conversely, that the state or any individual has a right to command. Therefore, the main argument of philosophical anarchism is that no state in fact has authority. Question: the book Capitalism, Socialism and Democracy is authored by 1. Joseph Schumpeter, 2. Samuel Huntington, 3. Andre Gunder Frank, 4. Joseph Lapalombara. You have 5 seconds to guess the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is option 1, Joseph Schumpeter. Explanation: Joseph Schumpeter. He was an Austrian political economist and is best known for his work on economic innovation and business cycles. It is one of the most important books on social theory, social sciences, and economics, in which Schumpeter deals with capitalism, socialism, and creative destruction. In fact, it is the third most cited book in the social sciences published before 1950, behind Marx's Capital and The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. Question: arrange the following in their theoretical sequence in keeping with the Marxist conception or the materialist conception of history. A. The proletariat seizes political power and turns the means of production into state property. B. Finally, the proletariat abolishes itself, abolishes all class distinctions and class antagonism, and also abolishes the state as state. C. While the capitalist mode of production more and more transforms the great majority of the population into proletarians, it creates a power that is forced to accomplish a revolution against capitalism. D. The present structure of society is the creation of the current ruling class, the bourgeoisie. E. Steam, machinery, and the making of machines by machinery transform the older manufacture carried out under feudalism into modern industry. Choose the correct option. 1. A, B, C, D, E. 2. E, D, C, A, B. 3. D, A, B, C, E. 4. C, A, B, E, D. You have 5 seconds to guess the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is option 2. Explanation. Here is why this is the correct theoretical sequence. E. Steam, machinery, and the making of machines by machinery transformed the older manufacture, carried out under feudalism, into modern industry. This represents the transition from feudalism to capitalism. D. The present structure of society is the creation of the current ruling class, the bourgeoisie. This represents the establishment of the bourgeoisie as the ruling class under capitalism. C. While the capitalist mode of production more and more transforms the great majority of the population into proletarians, it creates a power that is forced to accomplish a revolution against capitalism. This represents the growing proletariat class under capitalism and the impending revolution. A. The proletariat seizes political power and turns the means of production into state property. This represents the proletariat revolution and the establishment of socialism. B. Finally, the proletariat abolishes itself, abolishes all class distinctions and class antagonism, and also abolishes the state as state. This represents the final stage of communism, where class distinctions are abolished. Question. Which of the following observations are correct about deliberative democracy? A. Deliberative democracy describes a normative ideal in which free and equal citizens publicly exchange reasons with one another. B. They do with a view to reaching a consensus about some issue or policy, or about the principles underlying the system as a whole. C. The central claim is that a political decision or system is legitimate even if it cannot command free and reasoned agreement among equals. D. Clearly, this is a practical conception which contemporary political life, with partisan rivalries and messy compromises, often conforms to. E. Underlying the deliberative ideal is a powerful moral intuition about the nature of truly democratic association. Code 1. A, B and E only. 2. A, B and C only. 3. B, C and D only. 4. B, D and E only. You have 5 seconds to guess the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is option 1. A, B and E only. Explanation. Let's break down the statements to understand the core of deliberative democracy. Statement A. Correct. Deliberative democracy is a normative project grounded in political theory that emphasizes the importance of public exchange of reasons among free and equal citizens. Statement B. Correct. The primary goal of deliberative democracy is to reach a consensus about issues or policies through fair and reasonable discussion and debate. Statement C. Incorrect. Deliberative democracy claims that political decisions should be the product of fair and reasonable discussion among citizens. It does not claim a decision is legitimate if it cannot command free and reasoned agreement. Statement D. Incorrect. While it has practical applications, deliberative democracy is not merely a reflection of contemporary political life with its partisan rivalries and messy compromises. Statement E. Correct. The deliberative ideal is firmly based on a powerful moral intuition regarding the true nature of democratic association. Question. Arrange the following in a sequence that historically and conceptually presents the concepts of civil society. A. It can be understood as a collective entity that springs from society and exists for specific and limited purposes. B. The concept was part of the economic and political liberalism that arose with John Locke and was celebrated by Scottish Enlightenment. C. Civil society is one among many spheres of the larger society, along with family, economy, politics, etc. D. The concept found a significant place in the writings of Hegel and Marx in the 19th century. E. The first articulation of the concept took place in the 17th and 18th centuries in Europe. Options 1. A, B, C, D, E. 2. B, D, C, E, A. 3. C, A, E, B, D. 4. E, B, A, C, D. You have 5 seconds to guess the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is option 4. Explanation. Let's trace the historical and conceptual evolution of civil society based on the correct sequence. E. The first articulation of the concept took place in the 17th and 18th centuries in Europe. This represents the emergence of the concept of civil society during the Enlightenment. B. The concept was part of the economic and political liberalism that arose with John Locke and was celebrated by Scottish Enlightenment. This represents the development and popularization of the concept during the era of economic and political liberalism. A. It can be understood as a collective entity that springs from society and exists for specific and limited purposes. This represents the understanding of civil society as a collective entity with specific purposes. C. Civil society is one among many spheres of the larger society, along with family, economy, politics, etc. This represents the positioning of civil society within the larger societal context. D. The concept found a significant place in the writings of Hegel and Marx in the 19th century. This represents the further development and exploration of the concept in the works of Hegel and Marx. Question. Match list 1 with list 2. List 1. A. Liberalism. B. Communitarianism. C. Liberal nationalism. D. Multiculturalism/difference theory. List 2. 1. Shared understanding and common meaning based on shared history, culture, or worldview. 2. No need for member to share a common culture, history, worldview, language, or value system. 3. Moral concern for one another as free and equal citizens. 4. Shared nationality based on a common history, language, and culture. Options 1. A1, B2, C3, D4. 2. A4, B3, C2, D1. 3. A2, B4, C1, D3. 4. A3, B1, C4, D2. You have 5 seconds to guess the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Correct answer. Option 4. A3, B1, C4, D2. Explanation. Here is the true conceptual breakdown. Liberalism. A. Cree. It is a political doctrine that values individual freedom and shows moral concern for one another as free and equal citizens. Communitarianism. B1. This philosophy emphasizes the connection between the individual and the community, relying on a shared understanding and common meaning based on shared history, culture, or worldview. Liberal nationalism. C4. Also known as civic nationalism. This is based on a shared nationality through common history, language, and culture, but remains compatible with liberal values of freedom and tolerance. Multiculturalism D2. This theory argues that cultural differences should be respected in the public sphere, meaning there is no need for members to share a single common culture, worldview, or value system. Question: who among the following thinkers are associated with participatory democracy? A. Carol Pateman, B. Ian Shapiro, C. Benjamin Barber, D. Jürgen Habermas, E. C. B. Macpherson. Code 1. A, B and C only. 2. A, B and D only. 3. A, C and E only. 4. A, C and D only. You have 5 seconds to guess the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is option 3. A, C and E only. Explanation. Here is the breakdown of the thinkers and their association with democratic theory. Carol Pateman. She is deeply associated with participatory democracy. In her famous work, Participation and Democratic Theory, she promoted a participatory vision of democracy. Benjamin Barber. He is a strong proponent of participatory democracy, famously advocating for a more participatory form of democracy in his work, Strong Democracy. C. B. Macpherson. He advocated for participatory democracy, arguing that for it to exist, there should be a reduction in social and economic inequality, and people should act as exerters and enjoyers of development, rather than just consumers of government policies. Ian Shapiro, B. focuses primarily on the value of democracy in limiting domination, rather than as a system of pure participation. Jürgen Habermas, D. has contributed significantly to democratic theory, but his work is specifically associated with deliberative democracy, not participatory democracy. Question: which of the following is not a principle of Nozick's entitlement theory? 1. A principle of transfer. Whatever is justly acquired can be freely transferred. 2. A principle of just initial acquisition. An account of how people come to initially own the things which can be transferred in accordance with 1. 3. A principle of final acquisition. Our account of how people come to finally own the things which have been transferred in accordance with 1. 4. A principle of rectification of injustice. How to deal with holdings if they were unjustly acquired or transferred. You have 5 seconds to guess the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is option 3. A principle of final acquisition. Our account of how people come to finally own the things which have been transferred in accordance with 1. Explanation. Let's break down Robert Nozick's entitlement theory. It comprises 3 main principles. A principle of justice in acquisition. This deals with the initial acquisition of holdings. A principle of justice in transfer. This explains how one person can acquire holdings from another, including voluntary exchange and gifts. A principle of rectification of injustice. This deals with how to handle holdings that are unjustly acquired or transferred. There is no principle of final acquisition in Nozick's entitlement theory. The theory is concerned with the justice of the process by which holdings are acquired and transferred, not with the final state of those holdings. Question. Given below are two statements. One is labeled as assertion A and the other is labeled as reason R. Assertion A. It is plausible to think that autonomy involves a kind of skill that individuals must develop, exercise, and maintain. This ongoing process of planning and managing is not automatic but requires efforts and resources that are secured by social and material conditions provided by the state. Reason R. However, the commitment to individual autonomy cannot force the liberal state to provide the social and material conditions by which citizens could come to be autonomous. It must depend on the individuals to strive independently for achieving their autonomy. In the light of the above statements, choose the most appropriate answer from the options given below. 1. Both A and R are correct, and R is the correct explanation of A. 2. Both A and R are correct, but R is not the correct explanation of A. 3. A is correct, but R is not correct. 4. A is not correct, but R is correct. You have 5 seconds to guess the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Correct answer, option 3. A is correct, but R is not correct. Explanation. Let's break down these statements. Assertion A is correct. Autonomy isn't just a switch you flip. It is a skill that must be developed and maintained. This process is not automatic and requires actual efforts and resources, which are often secured through social and material conditions provided by the state, like education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Reason R is incorrect. It suggests that a liberal state cannot be forced to provide these conditions and that individuals must strive entirely independently. This is false because modern liberal states often play a highly significant role in providing the necessary foundational conditions for their citizens to actually exercise and develop their autonomy. Thank you for watching. Follow, subscribe, and share for more UGC NET MCQs.